Hey everybody, my name is Vanessa Galippi and welcome back to the science segment. In today's video, we're going to be asking ourselves the question, ever wonder? Ever wonder if a change in your DNA could give you a specific superpower? Well, the X-Men are superheroes affected by the X gene, giving them different superpowers. People around the world have mutations in their DNA that give them some kind of benefit or superpower that most others don't have. The ability can range from enhanced vision to super tasting to disease immunity. Many of these genetic conditions are being studied to try and cure related but opposite conditions. To ask ourselves this question, we gotta go to the beginning. What is DNA and how does it work? DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it is a bunch of atoms stuck together to combine the shape of a long spiraling ladder. DNA is the blueprint or recipe for a living thing. The DNA structure outside is made up of nucleotides, which are a mixture of sugar and phosphate molecules. The base, the steps inside, are made up of thymine, adenine, guanine, and cytosine. What do you call an acid with an attitude? Amino acid. Amino acid is the building blocks of life. They attach to each other to produce a larger variety of particles known as proteins. Amino acids create proteins, which create living cells, which create tissues, organs, and then humans. It's kind of like the circle of life. When proteins are built at the right time and at the right place, everything to cells, organs, and living beings will come out just fine. The DNA lives inside the nucleus, and the amino acids live inside the cytoplasm. To help DNA interact with the cytoplasm and convert those amino acids to proteins, special chemicals inside the nucleus form partial copies of the DNA known as the RNA. RNA stands for ribonucleic acids. It looks a lot like DNA, but they are shorter and are missing one of their sides. Their small size helps them travel through tiny pores in the nucleus, out to the cytoplasm, and into the mouth of another particle called a ribosome. Ribosomes are protein-building machines that read the RNA code 3 letters at a time, sort amino acids out of their surroundings, and stick them together in a chain according to the RNA code, kind of like a factory. As the chain grows, it bends and folds and sticks to itself to form a perfectly shaped protein. So, to sum that all up, DNA is a molecular blueprint for a living thing. How does it work? DNA creates RNA, RNA creates proteins, and proteins go on to form life. Next, we move on to the study of heredity and genetics. Heredity is the passing on of genetics traits from parent to offspring. Human cells have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Genes is a section of DNA on a specific location on a chromosome that contains information that determines a trait. Genetics is the study of heredity. Factors influence the expression of traits. Factors later became known as genes. Each human has between 20,000 to 25,000 genes. It is within our genes that chemical compounds provide the coding for all information about a person's inherited traits. If the DNA in a nucleus were to be unraveled in each cell, it would be 6 feet long. The Human Genome Project ended up identifying about 99% of the entire human genetic sequence. Genes make proteins, those proteins then interact with each other and other chemicals in the body to build things such as eye pigments, freckles, and mood-altering hormones. The length and sequence of a gene determines the size and shape of the protein it builds. The size and shape of the protein will determine the function it will have inside of the body. Hemoglobin, for example, is a protein structure found in red blood cells. Genetic engineers have found that if they take a gene from somewhere like a bacterial cell and insert it into the DNA of an animal or a plant cell, that animal or plant cell will then read the new gene and produce the bacterial protein. So, a gene is a special stretch of basic DNA, not the entire strand of DNA, just a segment that codes for something. Each gene is like a unique recipe, which usually tells a cell how to make proteins or a group of proteins. Different creatures have different genes, but all genes are written in the same basic DNA language of A's, C's, T's. Among the main goals of the Human Genome Project was to develop new, better, and cheaper tools to identify new genes and to understand their functions. Genetic mapping, also called linkage mapping, can offer firm evidence that a disease transmitted from parent to child is linked to one or more genes. The benefits of sequencing may be mostly in the medical arena. In the long-term, sequencing of many individuals could provide new information on the genetic basis of poorly understood diseases with the potential to provide new therapies. So, now that we have the background story, we can finally ask ourselves, ever wonder if a change in your DNA could give you a specific superpower? There's about a quarter of the population that are known as supertasters. If you have more than 30 taste buds in the space the size of a hole punch on your tongue, then you have a stronger taste. The gene that causes this is known as TIS2R38 bitter taste receptor gene. They tend to dislike bitter foods like raw broccoli and grapefruit juice. Another rare genetic mutation causes people to be super sleepers. This gene allows people to sleep for only a few hours but still wake up bright-eyed and alert. It allows you to function at your best with a limited amount of sleep. Super strength is a mutation in the MSTN gene which stops the body from making myostatin, which inhibits muscle growth. So people with 2 copies of this mutation can have twice the muscle mass as others that are the same age and gender. Rainbow vision, tetrachromats, have a different, cool mutation of the eyes that make them see way more colors than the average person. Most people's eyes see colors with 3 different kinds of cells called cones, but some women have 4 kinds. Having the 4th kind lets them see more nuance than the typical rainbow. It is only in women though because this superpower requires 2 different mutations on the X chromosome. Another mutation, supervillain fingers, also known as dermatoglyphia, a genetic condition nicknamed immigration delay disease, causes people to have no fingerprints. Their skin doesn't have intricate ridges and whorls like most fingers do. HIV immunity, another case defense against the dark diseases, showed up in people who by all accounts should have been infected by HIV but weren't. They had a mutation in the CCR5 gene. Finally, for our bonus genetic mutation, we have the man with the golden arm. Not many people on this list have actually saved lives with their power, but this superhero did. Amazingly, this one man's blood saved about 2.4 million babies. He and others like him are true superheroes. James Harrison donated blood 1,173 times over 60 years. His blood was used to make a medicine called the anti-G immunoglobulin, which is given to certain pregnant women. This medicine is given when there is a difference of blood type between mother and child. The negative and the positive that you hear about usually refer to a particular antigen called RhD, a type of Rh antigen. But if you don't have any of the 61 Rh antigens, your blood type is Rh null. About 40 people worldwide have been found with this blood type, and it's called golden blood because it can be donated to almost anyone. While it isn't common in everyone, it does not mean that we don't have some type of genetic superhuman ability. Getting tested and learning more about our heredity and genetics will give us better insight. I agree with using DNA technology for this purpose because we are learning more about these genetic mutations. We can develop new medicines and cures related to these mutations to help people who suffer.